Hey, welcome back to my channel Iraqi Dinar News Update. Exchange rate for the US dollar compared to the Iraqi Dinar slightly rose on Monday in the Iraqi capital, Baghdad, and the capital of the Kurdistan region of Iraq, Erbil. The US dollar exchange rate rose in Baghdad's Al-Khifa and Al-Harithia stock exchanges, reaching 1,404 Iraqi dinars compared to 1,402 Iraqi dinars on Monday morning. The exchange rate in currency exchange shops in Baghdad ranged between 1,415 dinars and 1,395 dinars. Shafaq News reported. In Erbil, the US dollar exchange rate increased, fluctuating between 1,404.5 and 1,404 Iraqi dinars. The Central Bank of Iraq, CBI, said in February 2023 that it has begun using the new US dollar exchange rate of 1,300 dinars to every US dollar. The previous official exchange rate was 1,450 dinars to 1 US dollar, which was being exchanged in the parallel market at a rate of 1,550 dinars.q, while the official exchange rate was 1,450 dinars per dollar in January 2023. The US currency was being exchanged at 1,610 dinars during the same month in the parallel market in Iraq. This variation represented more than a 10% difference in exchange rates. Alright, let's unpack this carefully and methodically so it's easy to follow, because there's a lot going on beneath these numbers. We'll break it down into 5 key parts. 1. What the exchange rate is and how it's set. 2. The difference between the official rate and the market parallel rate. 3. The timeline of Iraq's exchange rate changes, 2023 to 2025. 4. Why small changes matter. 5. What this means for the Iraqi dinar revaluation and broader economy. 1. What the exchange rate is and how it's set. The exchange rate tells you how much of one currency you need to buy another. In this case, it's IQD USD rate how many Iraqi dinars, IQD, you need to buy 1 US dollar, USD. Example, if the rate is 1,300 IQD per USD, that means you give 1,300 dinars to get $1. The Central Bank of Iraq, CBI, controls the official exchange rate, but real-world buying and selling often happens at a slightly different price. That's the market rate or parallel rate. 2. Official rate versus market, parallel rate. Official rate equals fixed by the CBI for bank and government transactions. Market rate or parallel rate equals the actual rate people get when exchanging money in shops, currency markets, or informal transactions. Why are they different? Import restrictions. Sometimes it's hard to get dollars through official channels, so people pay more in the street market. Sanctions and compliance rules. US Federal Reserve. Restrictions make it harder for certain Iraqi banks to access dollars. Demand and supply mismatch. If more people want USD than IQD, the market rate rises. More dinars needed to get a dollar. Historically, Iraq's parallel market rate has been higher than the official rate, meaning the dinar is weaker in the street market than in government records. Timeline of Iraq's exchange rate changes. Date of period official CBI rate, IQD USD, parallel market rate, IQD USD. Difference. Jan 2023, 1,450. 1,610 tilde 11% higher. February 2023, 1,300. CBI cut rate, tilde 1, 550 tilde 19% higher. August 2025, current. 1,300, still official. Tilde 1, 4041, 415 tilde 8%. The CBI strengthened the dinar officially, moving the rate from 1,450 to 1,300. This made imports cheaper on paper. But because of dollar shortages, the parallel rate stayed much higher, tilde 1, 550. 2024 to 2025. Iraq worked to close the gap between official and parallel rates through dollar supply controls, banking reforms, and anti-smuggling operations. The difference has narrowed, now around 8%. The recent rise you mentioned. from 1,402 to 1,404 dinars in Baghdad, and from 1,404 to 1,404.5 in Erbil may sound tiny, but it signals market movement. Short-term fluctuations. Rates change daily depending on local demand for USD, availability in banks, and political or economic news. Psychological effect. Even a small rise tells traders and the public that dollars are slightly harder to get today than yesterday. Money changers watch these small changes closely because a small shift in Baghdad versus Erbil can mean quick profits. In currency-sensitive economies like Iraq, where imports are heavily dollar-based, a 1 to 2 dinar change in the rate can ripple through to prices of goods and services. Revaluation, IQDRV, and economy. The CBI's February 2023 rate cut from 1,450, 1,300 was widely seen as a mini revaluation, making the dinar stronger. However, the parallel market gap still exists, meaning the true street value of the dinar is weaker than the official claim. For a full revaluation, for example, moving to 1,000 or even 1:1 with the USD, Iraq would need 1. Full control over the parallel market, no smuggling, no unofficial dollar channels. 2. High foreign reserves. Iraq is building these, especially in gold. 3. Strong economic diversification, less dependence on oil. More exports. 4. IMF compliance. International banking and anti-money laundering standards, connecting it to today's numbers. 1,404 IQD USD, up slightly from 1,402, 1,415, high end. 1,395, low end. Erbil, market 1,404.5, minus 1,404 IQD USD. This is positive for anyone watching the IQD. RV, a shrinking gap often means the country is preparing for a more credible official rate. Dollar demand in Iraq often reflects regional stability. If tensions rise in the Middle East, Iraqis rush to hold USD, pushing rates up. Oil revenues are sold in USD. Iraq's reforms, digital payments, anti-smuggling, foreign bank access, are part of a bigger financial modernization push that could pave the way for a stronger dinar. The small rise from 1,402 to 1,404 IQD USD is part of the daily market dance. But the bigger story is the narrowing gap between the official CBI rate and the parallel market rate. Of the law entered a civilian government office. The investigation concluded the following. The armed elements responsible for this breach belong to the Kataib Hezbollah, affiliated with the 45th and 46th Brigades of the Popular Mobilization Forces, PMF. The armed force acted without orders or authorizations, in contravention of established military protocols, and used weapons against members of the security services, resulting in the deaths and injuries of both security personnel and civilians. The dismissed director of the Kark Agriculture Directorate, Mr. Iyad Kardam Ali, was proven, through investigations, administrative orders, official documents, and his personal administrative file, to have been involved in prior coordination to bring in this force. He was also found complicit in cases of administrative corruption, impersonation, forgery of official documents and certificates, and participation in the falsification of contracts, which led to the unlawful seizure of agricultural lands from their rightful owners. A leadership and control deficiency within the PMF was identified, with certain formations failing to comply with established regulations and military movements. Based on these findings, the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces approved the investigative committee's recommendations, which included dismissing the commanders of the 45th and 46th Brigades of the PMF from their positions, forming an investigative committee for the commander of Al Jazeera Operations Command in the PMF for negligence in leadership and control duties, referring all individuals involved in the incident to the judiciary, along with the investigative files, evidence, and incriminating materials, holding accountable all those who failed or delayed in taking swift legal and security measures in accordance with their assigned responsibilities, are addressing any lack of adherence to regulations and disciplinary protocols for movements within certain PMF formations, with zero tolerance for delay or leniency, are reviewing the deployment, composition, and professional competence of units holding sectors, as well as the capability of their commanders and officers, through a committee formed from relevant ministries and senior leadership, are honouring distinguished security personnel who effectively and courageously confronted the attack in the line of duty, are guaranteeing the rights of the martyrs and wounded who were victims of the attack, including the civilian citizen Abbas Ubaid, regarding the delivery of the agreed-upon quantities of oil to the Federal Oil Marketing Company. Consequently, the issue of salaries and other issues will return to the forefront, which may require new meetings and discussions between the two sides. He added, Baghdad may set new conditions for Erbil to negotiate, including the handover of wanted figures in Erbil, including leaders of the dissolved Ba'ath Party and others. The source pointed out that the government committees sent by Baghdad to the region have not yet reached the results the Iraqi government is waiting for. The salary crisis between Baghdad and Erbil stems from chronic disagreements over oil export mechanisms and the unification of public revenues. The federal government accuses the region of failing to deliver the agreed-upon quantities of oil and non-oil revenues, while Erbil asserts that the suspension of its exports via the Sihan pipeline since has exacerbated the financial crisis and prevented it from fulfilling previous commitments. The Prime Minister outlines 3 steps to implement comprehensive banking reform according to a balanced vision. The Prime Minister outlines 3 steps to implement comprehensive banking reform according to a balanced vision. Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani, on Sunday, highly appreciated the efforts made by the Central Bank of Iraq in preparing the banking reform document, while identifying 3 steps to implement the comprehensive banking reform process according to a balanced vision. The official spokesman for the Iraqi government, Bassem al-Awadi, said in a statement that Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani was briefed on the latest developments related to the banking reform paper, especially those related to private banks. In light of the observations and responses he received in this regard, he highly appreciated the efforts made by the Central Bank of Iraq in preparing the banking reform document, which aims to enhance financial stability, achieve transparency, and raise the efficiency of the banking sector. The Prime Minister also affirmed, according to the statement, the government's support for all reform initiatives that would strengthen the structure of the financial system in Iraq.